Alright, so picture this, it's the 1960s. Bell-bottoms are in, the Beatles are huge, and Singapore, well, Singapore is this tiny, newly independent island nation, basically a struggling port city with not a lot going for it. No natural resources to speak of, a diverse population trying to figure out how to live together, and honestly, the odds were stacked against them. Fast forward to today, and this little red dot on the map is one of the richest, most efficient, and, let's be honest, cleanest countries on the planet. People throw around terms like economic miracle, and they're not wrong. It's the kind of glow-up that makes reality TV makeovers look like a minor touch-up. Now, you've probably heard it called the Switzerland of Asia. And it's a catchy phrase, right? It conjures up images of stability, wealth, neutrality, and maybe even some really good, albeit very expensive chocolate. Though I'm not sure about the chocolate part for Singapore. But it's more than just a nickname, it represents a deliberate, almost surgical transformation from a developing nation into a first-world powerhouse in a single generation. It's like that kid in school who was a bit awkward and then shows up to the reunion as a suave, successful CEO. You're happy for them, but also, you want to know their secret. So, how did they pull it off? Was it magic? Did they find a genie in a bottle, or maybe just a really good 5-year plan? Well, it's a bit more complex than that, and honestly a lot more fascinating. Today we're going to unpack the story of Singapore's incredible journey. We're diving deep into the key ingredients, the strategies, the policies, the mindset that took this island from a challenging starting point to the global success story it is today. We'll look at the masterstrokes and the tough decisions, because trust me, this wasn't an accident. This was a plan, executed with precision. So every great story needs a visionary, right? For Singapore, that was undeniably Lee Kuan Yew, its first prime minister. Now, this wasn't just a politician, this was an architect of a nation. When Singapore gained independence in 1965, it was a vulnerable place. LKY and his team didn't have the luxury of just winging it. They had a vision, and it was built on some pretty hardcore principles. First up, meritocracy. The idea that you get ahead based on your talent and hard work, not who your uncle knows. Sounds simple, but making it a reality? That's tough. Then a zero-tolerance policy for corruption. I mean, they made it clear that if you were going to be corrupt, Singapore was not the place for you. This wasn't just about being morally upright. It was about building trust, both domestically and internationally. And this foundation of integrity allowed them to pursue economic openness with a kind of laser focus. They knew Singapore was small, so they had to think global from day one. This meant rolling out the red carpet for foreign businesses, making it easy for them to set up shop. But it wasn't just about today's profits, it was about long-term planning. They were thinking decades ahead, investing in infrastructure, education, and crucially, national unity. With a diverse mix of Chinese, Malay, and Indian populations, forging a common Singaporean identity was paramount. It was about creating a society where everyone felt they had a stake in the country's success, because divided, they were just a small island. United, they could become a giant. Now, if you're going to transform your economy, you need fuel. And for Singapore, a huge part of that fuel was foreign direct investment, or FDI. Lee Kuan Yew and his government basically hung a giant open for business sign, but they also made sure the store was immaculate, the service was world-class, and the security was top-notch. They understood that capital is a coward. It goes where it feels safe and where it can grow. So, they systematically created one of the most business-friendly environments on the planet. Think about it. Low corporate tax rates. Who doesn't love paying less tax legally? It's like a global happy hour for corporations, and Singapore was the place to be. But it wasn't just about low taxes. They offered political stability, which, in a sometimes turbulent region, was a massive selling point. You want to invest millions? Maybe billions? You want to know the government isn't going to change its mind, or worse, disappear overnight. They also invested heavily in creating a skilled workforce. We'll get more into that later, and built world-class infrastructure. Ports, airports, roads, telecommunications, everything a multinational corporation could dream of. So, the big players started arriving. Texas Instruments in the 60s, then Hewlett-Packard, Shell, and countless others, bringing jobs, technology, and expertise. Singapore became a critical node in global supply chains, not by accident, but by meticulous design. So, you've got the visionary leader, you're attracting foreign cash, but what about the people who are actually going to the work? Singapore realized early on that its only real resource was its people. They didn't have oil, they didn't have vast farmlands, but they had brains, and they decided to invest heavily in polishing those brains until they shone. This meant a massive emphasis on education, particularly in technical fields and higher education. They weren't just aiming for literacy, they were aiming for a highly skilled, highly disciplined workforce that could meet the demands of those sophisticated MNCs they were attracting. Think engineering, finance, logistics, the kind of skills that build a modern economy. And here's a clever bit: they made English the primary language of business, government, and education. Now this was a pragmatic choice, not an easy one, given the multilingual society. But it was a masterstroke. It instantly made Singaporeans more competitive on the global stage, smoothed communication with international companies, and gave them access to a vast world of knowledge and commerce. It wasn't about abandoning heritage languages, those were still valued and taught, but about equipping the population with a common tool for economic advancement. This focus on human capital created a virtuous cycle. Skilled workers attracted more investment, which in turn created more demand for skilled workers. Smart, right? You know the old real estate mantra, location, location, location. Well, Singapore hit the geographic jackpot in many ways. It's situated right at the heart of Southeast Asia, smack bang on one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, the Straits of Malacca. Think of it as a global superhighway for cargo ships. And Singapore is the world's most efficient, most popular service station and interchange. Millions of containers pass through its port every year. But here's the thing: a good location is a great starting point, but it's what you do with it that counts. Lots of places have good locations and don't become Singapore. So Singapore didn't just rely on its coordinates, it invested massively to become a premier global port, and later, a major aviation hub with Changi Airport, which consistently wins world's best airport, like it's collecting Pokemon. They developed world-class logistics services, making it incredibly efficient to move goods in, out, and through the country. And it wasn't just about physical goods. This prime location, combined with its stability and skilled workforce, also made it a natural hub for financial services and regional headquarters for countless companies wanting a foothold in Asia. They took their geographical advantage and amplified it 1,000 times through smart infrastructure and strategic planning. Now let's talk about something that might sound a bit dry but is absolutely fundamental to Singapore's success: the rule of law and its legendary intolerance for corruption. You can have the best location, the smartest people, the most open economic policies, but if your legal system is a mess, and everyone's got their hand out for a bribe, forget it. Investors will run for the hills. Singapore understood this from the get-go. They established a strong, independent, and highly efficient legal system. Contracts are enforced, disputes are resolved fairly, and there's a predictability that businesses crave. And then there's corruption, or rather, the almost complete lack of it in public life. Singapore is consistently ranked as one of the least corrupt countries in the world. This isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a massive competitive advantage. It means businesses don't have to factor in facilitation payments, which is just a polite word for bribes. It means decisions are made on merit, not on who you know or who you paid. This transparency and integrity built enormous trust, not just with foreign investors but also with its own citizens. It created a level playing field and a sense of fairness that underpinned the entire social and economic structure. It's like the bedrock upon which everything else was built. So, Singapore is super business-friendly, loves free markets, right? Yes, but with a twist. It's not a pure hands-off laissez-faire system. The government has played and continues to play a very significant and strategic role in the economy. This is often referred to as state-driven capitalism, or the role of government-linked companies, or GLCs. Think of it as the government being not just a referee, but also a player coach, and sometimes even owning some of the star players on the team. They weren't afraid to step in and make big bets where the private sector might have been hesitant or lacked the scale. You see this with iconic companies like Singapore Airlines, consistently rated one of the world's best airlines. That's a GLC. DBS Bank, one of the largest banks in Southeast Asia. GLC. Singtel, the telecommunications giant, you guessed it. These companies were often established to build critical infrastructure, pioneer new industries, or compete on the global stage in ways that smaller, private companies might not have been able to, especially in the early days. The profits from these successful GLCs also flow back to the state, contributing to national wealth and allowing for further investment in public goods. It's a unique model, a pragmatic blend of market principles with strategic state direction. We've touched on Singapore being the Switzerland of Asia, and nowhere is this more evident than in its rise as a global financial center. This wasn't an accident. It was a very deliberate strategy. After building that foundation of stability, rule of law, and a skilled English-speaking workforce, Singapore set its sights on becoming a major hub for money. And boy, did it succeed. It's now one of the top financial centers in the world, right up there with New York, London, and Hong Kong. How did they do it? Well, they created an environment that wealth, both institutional and private, finds incredibly attractive. This involved crafting strict but sensible financial regulations, ensuring transparency, and maintaining a high degree of integrity in the financial system. They also offered tax efficiency, which, let's be honest, is always a draw. But crucially, Singapore cultivated an image of political neutrality and stability. In a world that can often feel volatile, Singapore is seen as a safe haven. This attracted global banks, asset managers, wealth managers, and insurance companies to set up significant operations. It became the place to manage money in Asia, a trusted intermediary for capital flows, and a hub for foreign exchange trading, wealth management, and increasingly, fintech innovation. In a complex and often divided world, how does a small nation not just survive, but thrive? For Singapore, a key part of the answer lies in its incredibly astute foreign policy. They've mastered the art of being friends with everyone, or at least not making enemies with anyone important. Think of it as being the popular kid at the international school who gets along with all the different cliques. Singapore has maintained strong relationships with the West, particularly the United States, while also forging deep ties with its Asian neighbors, including China, India, and the ASEAN nations. This isn't about being wishy-washy, it's about being pragmatic and principled. This balanced, neutral stance has made Singapore a trusted partner for many and a safe, reliable place for international business and diplomacy. It hosts major international conferences and serves as a venue for dialogues between powers that might not always see eye to eye elsewhere. This diplomatic skill enhances its economic security because businesses value predictability and low geopolitical risk. By not getting dragged into major power rivalries, Singapore has been able to focus on its own development and serve as a stable bridge between different parts of the world. It's a small country that punches well above its weight on the global stage, largely thanks to its savvy diplomacy. Now, economic success is one thing, but how do you ensure that the benefits are shared and that society holds together, especially a society as diverse as Singapore's? One of the most remarkable and perhaps less globally understood pillars of Singapore's story is its public housing program. Over 80% of Singaporeans live in government-built apartments known as HDB flats. That's the Housing and Development Board. And these aren't the grim, poorly maintained housing projects you might imagine from some other countries. These are well-designed, well-maintained communities with amenities, green spaces, and a strong sense of ownership, as most residents own their flats. This massive public housing initiative did several crucial things. It provided affordable, high-quality housing for the vast majority of the population, giving everyone a tangible stake in the country's progress. But it was also a tool for social engineering, in a positive sense. Ethnic integration policies ensure that HDB estates and blocks have a balanced mix of Singapore's main ethnic groups: Chinese, Malays, and Indians. This means people from different backgrounds live side by side, their kids go to the same schools, they use the same local shops. This deliberate policy has been fundamental in fostering social harmony, understanding, and a shared national identity. It's about building not just houses but communities and a cohesive nation. So there you have it. The incredible story of how Singapore transformed itself from a tiny, vulnerable island into the Switzerland of Asia. It's a journey that wasn't down to one single factor but a powerful combination of visionary, pragmatic leadership. A big shout out to the legacy of Kuan and his team, and an unwavering focus on long-term planning. They didn't just hope for the best, they meticulously engineered it. From attracting global investment to educating their people, from leveraging their location to ensuring a corruption-free, stable society, every piece was part of a larger, incredibly ambitious puzzle. The commitment to building a cohesive, multiracial society through initiatives like public housing, while also maintaining an open, globally integrated economy, is a testament to a unique approach. They understood that for a small nation to succeed, it needed to be unified at home and indispensable to the world. This meant smart policies, tough decisions, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Singapore's rise is a powerful reminder that with clear vision, strong governance, and a collective will, dramatic transformation is possible, even against considerable odds. It's a story of resilience, innovation, and strategic foresight. But what do you think? Looking at all these different ingredients, the leadership, the FDI, the education, the anti-corruption drive, the strategic location, the social policies, which one do you believe was the most crucial element in Singapore's astonishing success story? Was there a linchpin without which the whole thing wouldn't have worked? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you all think. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll explore more fascinating stories next time. Stay curious.